Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
A rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
They're getting the dirtbags off these streets.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later gotta cut you down, sooner or later gotta cut you down. Go and tell that long-tongued liar, go and tell that midnight rider, tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter, tell him that God's gonna cut him down, tell him that God's gonna cut him down. Well, my goodness gracious, let me tell you the news. My head's been wet with the midnight dew. I've been down on bended knee, talking to the man from Galilee. He spoke to me in a voice so sweet, I thought I heard a shuffle of angels' feet. He called my name and my heart stood still when he said, John, go do my will. Go tell that long-tongued liar, go and tell that midnight rider, tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter, tell him that God's gonna cut him down, tell him that God's gonna cut him down. You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later gotta cut you down, sooner or later gotta cut you down. Well, you may throw your rock and hide your hand, working in the dark against your fellow man, but as sure as God made black and white, what's done in the dark will be brought to the light. You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later gotta cut you down, sooner or later gotta cut you down. Go tell that long-tongued liar, go and tell that midnight rider, tell the rambler, the gambler, the backbiter, tell him that God's gonna cut you down, tell him that God's gonna cut you down, tell him that God's gonna cut you down.
Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. Welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. I hope everybody is doing well out there and having a good start to their weekend. It is Tuesday. You know what that means. Tonight, after this show on Badlands Media, we got DEF CON 0, the hottest show on Tuesday night, according to Rumble. So that is tonight. I hope you guys join us. It's going to be one hell of a conversation. And potentially even maybe a special, we'll see if a special guest joins in. I sent a request out. We'll see. It's kind of late on the request, but we'll see what happens. But listen, we are in the final countdown, people. So if you watch what's happening, and this is one thing I guess that I'm really good at, is putting the pieces of the puzzle together. watching all the forms of information come out, watching the counter narrative being played, watching what happens in the mainstream media, watching what happens in the alt media, watching what people are saying, watching what information and evidence is coming to light, and then stringing it all together to kind of say, holy shit, we're almost there. And there's a reason why Trump hasn't made the moves that we've expected the Trump make. There's a reason why, most likely, the deep state infiltration hasn't been completely weeded out yet. And I think that this is because if you want to prove an ongoing criminal conspiracy, you better have all of your ducks in a row. Not only that, is if you have infiltrators within your own government, within the White House, within the DOD, then you need to catch them in the act. You need to get them in the act of committing crimes, because that is more powerful than any string of evidence that's going to be tied up in grand juries. You understand what I'm saying? General Flynn was on Alex Jones earlier today, and he kind of gave some hints. He dropped some hints, and I love how this man does this because he's very methodical on how he communicates with people. But he was talking about how this last weekend he was talking with a friend about the Gulf of Tonkin incident and how this got us in to the Vietnam War. He mentioned a new Bay of Pigs, and he said false flags. I mean, he goes, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a false flag organized in and around Venezuela and blamed on the U.S. military to instigate war, to make the Trump administration look bad, to set them up. And so that's one thing that I think is a heed the warnings, that we potentially could see something that happens in that arena that could be a deep state operation focused directly at Donald Trump and the military, but forces their hand in kinetic engagement. We'll see. Now, on the context of Maduro, I'm going to talk about that here in a little while when we get into Venezuela. A few of the things I want to do just real quick as we get started. Christmas time is coming up. I haven't even checked when Christmas is. Oh my goodness. You know, I got a calendar right here in front of my face. Christmas is on Thursday. Okay, so Thursday. So there will be no show on Thursday or Wednesday and Thursday of that week, but that's a few weeks down the road. We got some time before that happens. I want to give a quick shout out to James Boduin 6 for the $5 Rumble rant. Appreciate you guys. We haven't had like a string of those 5 for 5s in a while. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for those Rumble rants. As we get going here, though, I just want to give you news and updates. This week, Thursday, Thursday and Friday will be late shows. Both my kids are wrestling. Both my kids have wrestling tournaments Thursday and Friday. So there'll be late shows, but still we will be doing Thursday night, the live Q&A. I want to make sure that you guys go out there and you are a premium subscriber so you can get in on the live Q&A. If you are interested in that, the live Q&A after this show on Thursday nights, become a premium subscriber on any of our platforms. X.com, you can become a premium subscriber there. It's put in the feed. SocialRedPill.com is our private social network. redpillproject.substack.com or redpillproject.locals.com. We're trying to work with Rumble to get a way to get everybody that's a subscriber there on Rumble Premium to get into that. But we do have some information coming out about that. I don't want to really announce too much yet. I did put out an X post today, and I don't even have it in front of me. But I said there was this, you know what? There was this cool little conspiracy theory about Devil's Tower in Wyoming. And we're going to talk about it at the end of the show. But I put out an X post and I said, if this is true, we should take this as our first episode of a new show and head out there in the spring to Alpha Warrior. So Alpha Warrior and I have decided that we're going to do a new show. And we don't want to do the typical normal podcast where it's just two talking heads. What we want to do is we want to travel the country. We want to look into conspiracies. If it was the New Jersey drones, we want to fly out to New Jersey and begin investigating and do firsthand witness testimony. If it's Devil's Tower, we want to go out there. We want to talk to the locals, the natives. We want to go in there and see if we can get in and investigate. This is what we're going to be doing. We're trying to get it funded. So it's we might be able to fund it ourselves. We're kind of getting to that point where we're looking at the money aspect of it because it's a lot of travel. But this will probably be a Rumble Premium show originally and then reposted as for everybody else after. I don't know. We're trying to work through the details. Like I said, it's got to be a funded show because we got to travel around the country and do all this stuff. But it's going to be a really cool show. And I've been excited because I've been wanting to do a show like this for a long time. $5 holla, Sting Tammy. Thank you so much, Sting Tammy. Appreciate that. And then a few different things. You know, if you guys want to support us, help us out in any way, we got a boatload. Well, not a load. We only got a few sponsors. But I'm just going to go through my sponsors. Whatever your needs are, they can help. Typically, I use these products, and that's why I sponsor them here on the show. GOODBRU BIOTICS. You guys know GOODBRU. Gabe has been on with me multiple different times. GOODBRU.com/redpill. How do you spell that? GOODBRU.com/redpill. And that's for your gut health. And that stuff is actually pretty amazing. The music that we play on the show, yes, it's AI generated music, but I went out there. I got my notebook right over here of all my lyrics that I've been writing for years, my lyrics, and I figured out a way to get them out to the world. So you can find that at redpillsmusic.com, redpillsmusic.com as well. It's on Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, Google, YouTube. You can just search Guardians of Truth. You should be able to find that. One of our newest sponsors over here, and you guys heard Terry Beatley on with me a few weeks ago. And her mission is very, very clear. Educate people on understanding why we need to eradicate abortion, why we need to eradicate Planned Parenthood, and bring back morality back to the United States of America. And that's hosea4u.org. And you can go hosea4u.org/redpill. And how's that spelled? Because I know some people are just listening. HOSEA4, the letter 4, the number 4, YOU.org/redpill. So that's HOSEA number 4 YOU.org/redpill. And you can go help support them over there. Atomic Blonde, $20. Yo, my dude. Thank you so much, Atomic Blonde. Appreciate that. LM Evans, $20 Rumble Rant. Josh, please watch Laura Logan's interview with Dr. Timothy Schneidelier and share your thoughts with us. I'm going to actually talk about that tonight. I caught a little bit of it, not fully the whole one, but definitely we'll be talking a little bit about that tonight. So I appreciate that Rumble Rant right there, man. You guys are awesome. And I mean, this is not normally how I do our shows with putting our sponsors up first, but I wanted to get this all out there. I want people to see this and go out there. Tammy, you guys know Tammy joins me every Thursday. She's going to be joining me tomorrow and Thursday. redpillcellreset.com. REDPILLCELL reset, RESET. Go check them out. They got a lot of good products out there to help you get your health back into whack there. And then I do have a crypto course. If anybody's interested in getting into cryptocurrency, this is just a crypto course. It's like 4 hours of me talking. So redpills.tv/crypto course, redpills.tv/crypto course. And then lastly, we got our immune modulating mushrooms, redpills.tv/mushroom. And this is if you got any type of health problem, autoimmune problem, immune deficiency problem, this is where you want to go. It's not only for you, it's for your pets. Immune modulating mushrooms, redpills.tv/mushroom. And lastly, keep up to date with all of our stuff on Substack, redpillproject.substack.com. All right, let's get into the show. Sorry, I had to do that. I don't do that often. I hope you guys know that I got to put it out there every once in a while. And what do we got? We got Mega Nuke, $5. Here we go. Snowball fight. Oh, thank you so much, Mega Nuke. Mary J won $5. $5 rant challenge. Just make Josh 100 air. I love it. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Appreciate all the rants. And there it is. Donald Trump today confirms the 2020 election is not over. Let's listen to the 25-second clip of President Donald Trump talking about this, shared by MJ Truth.
I could show you a chart. It's a lot of land I lost.
It's a lot of land. I think
think of it. If our election wasn't rigged, it was a rigged election. Now everyone knows it. It's going to come out over the next couple of months too, loud and clear, because we have all the information there. But if the election wasn't rigged and stolen, you wouldn't even be talking about Ukraine right now.
The resounding consensus in Europe right now.
So I find it interesting. So Trump there talking about the 2020 election. He comes out and states that it was stolen, it was rigged, he lost a lot of land in this election. And did you notice Dasha did not contest that? Politico. This is what Politico. They did not contest it. They did not come out there and say, but Mr. President, the evidence has already been tried in the court systems. Yes, you lost that election. Every other mainstream media has came out and said that until today. Turning points. And what did he say? It's all going to come out. It's all going to come out. We have all the evidence. How do we know this? Well, because we had Lara Logan's interview. We had Patrick Byrne. We have General Flynn all talking about it. This has been handed over on a silver platter to President Donald Trump. We have key witnesses that are involved in the operation, whistleblowers. This is coming, and it's coming big. In the new National Defense Authorization Act that is being proposed, there's a Section 6805 requiring penetration testing as part of the testing and certification of voting systems. Section 231 of the Help America Vote Act of 2002, 52 U.S.C. 20971, is amended by adding at the end of the following the new subscription, requiring penetration testing as part of the testing and certification of voting systems. I like this. This is a step in the right direction. It's not voter ID. It's not, getting rid of the Smartmatic Dominion machines, but it is a step in the right direction. I think that it's going to be highly unlikely that these people try to cheat in the midterms, although that's their last stance that they actually have. But getting the military involved in penetration testing and cybersecurity, specifically, if you go back to what Patrick Byrne has been talking about, what did he say? He said that they handed this information directly over to President Trump. Elon Musk reviewed it. Elon Musk was able to get in contact with General Flynn and another person over at Cyber Command. Cyber Command confirmed the information, was able to run an operation 3 days before the 2024 election and shut down the Serbian servers. This is legitimate of how this is all strung up, which means that there should be some type of active investigation being done right now by the DOJ on that, specifically because of what Cyber Command did. Ron 4T, $5 Rumble Rant. Here's my snowball. Hope it doesn't bounce. Appreciate you, brother. 2F17, $5 Rumble Rant. Good evening, Josh. $5 holla. Thank you so much, guys. You guys are awesome. I appreciate all the support. And what you can't talk about the 2020 election without talking about Tina Peters. So today, a federal judge, Scott Varholic, dismissed Tina Peters' habeas corpus petition. And then the prison places Tina Peters immediately in solitary confinement moments later. Now, this did not go unwarranted because something happened immediately after this. Harmeet Dillon. So Harmeet Dillon is serving as the undersecretary or under attorney general or deputy attorney general under Pam Bondi. And what did she do today? Under my direction, Civil Rights DOJ has opened an investigation in the entire Colorado prison system following multiple reports of unconstitutional and legally insufficient carceral conditions. Prisoners have rights. This is going to be really interesting to see what uncovers here. Now, if it's found that there's malfeasance, that there's been mistreatment to Tina Peters, which we know there has, they are going to bring the full force of the law down on Colorado, including the governor, the secretary of state, and hopefully they can utilize this to immediately get Tina Peters out of there. Now, this is something that I actually talked about yesterday, just briefly. When we start talking about how the DOJ should initiate actions to help get Tina Peters out of jail, there's a few different ways to do this. The first one that I talked about was the Department of Justice Civil Rights Intervention. If the DOJ believes that defendants' constitutional rights were violated, they can open up a federal investigation to use historically overturned corrupt cases like civil rights murders in the 1960s, wrongful convictions of minority defendants. So the DOJ could argue due process was violated, selective or political prosecution occurred, cruel and unusual punishment is taking place, whistleblowers retaliated against. This can escalate into federal oversight and reversal actions. And so this comes right after the habeas corpus petition was denied by a federal judge. So we need to watch this closely. My thoughts is that this is going to be a very fast investigation, probably before Christmas. I'm going to throw it out there. We could see Tina Peters even potentially released before that time. I think that this is curtailing on getting access to the prison by federal agents and noticing Tina Peters, and they're just going to go in there and say that she is being maltreated, and they're going to remove her with federal authority. And from there, she's going to be put into witness protection. That's my thoughts, because of she is a primary witness in the 2020 election theft. And by the way, I talked about it briefly last night, is all her lawyer has to do is ask for a discovery review of the evidence that was presented against her, including the hard drive that she had from Mesa County. Because I guarantee you that hard drive has been destroyed. And if it has, that is immediate reversal of her conviction, especially if there's an appeal in place. So I'd love to see what happens with that. P. Water, $5 Rumble Rant. Thank you, Joshua. Dev House 1, challenge met. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. All right. 2020 election, it's not over yet. There's still a lot to happen with that. And we got to understand that the connectivity with the 2020 election, excuse me, the 2020 election isn't just the 2020 election. The 2020 election was an ends to a means for the radical left, for the deep state. They wanted to get in there. They wanted to coup Donald Trump. They wanted to take back power. They wanted to ensure that they could take back power, destroy as much evidence of their corruption as possible, and hide their treason, and then steal the 2024 election with obviously Hillary or Kamala or Joe Biden coming into that place. But this predates it. I mean, we're talking 2018 midterm elections. We're talking George Soros, Attorney General, Secretary of States, promoting them, going out there, advertising and marketing for them, campaigning for them, getting them elected in various different states, knowing at that point in time that these were in Smartmatic Dominion zones of which they knew they could steal. At the time, you had a Open Society Foundation executive, Lord Mark Malloch Brown, as the head of Smartmatic, the CEO of the company at that point in time. This goes prior to that. The whole FISA-gate, Russia. This wasn't just like, we just want to go out and do a coup. No. This was the cover-up for the Obama years, for 8 years of Barack Obama, of which they committed mass treason against this country, including the selling off of special access programs through our military. That's kind of how all this got started and arranged. It's how it all got brought onto the radar. This uncovered Pizzagate. This uncovered satanic pedophilic rings. This uncovered massive corruption and infiltration within our government. So this string, when you begin to pull it at all levels, begins unraveling. And this is what I've been saying is we had a month and a half ago, the DOJ is bringing up new evidence about Hillary Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, and their corrupt dealings back in 2014, 2015. We have the DOJ declassifying, or the DNI and DOJ declassifying evidence on Russiagate and Spygate and FISA-gate. And you start pulling that string. What does it do? It leads backwards. It leads forwards. This is why on the cue boards it says FISA equals start. Think foundation. Think layers. How do you build a house from the foundation up? But it also has a basement. The basement is all the shit that the Obama administration did that's still there. When you begin to pull FISA-gate, it unravels into 2018 corruption. Impeachment 1, impeachment 2, the Mueller investigation, into the 2020 election and stolen, in the January 6th, then in the 2024 election. So this has been an ongoing criminal conspiracy. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of this starts to feather together. And guess what? We are at that point right now where all of this begins to coalesce together. The main points that we need to look at are, number 1, European Union, number 2, Ukraine, number 3, Venezuela. And I know nobody's talking about China too much, but I'm not worried about the aspects of the multipolar world. China is something to start thinking about down the road when technology begins ramping up. And I believe that Donald Trump going out there and allowing the sale of NVIDIA chips directly to China is giving an indication that China, that we already beat you. The only reason the United States would go out there and start selling AI chips back to China, and China rejected it, the only reason they would do that is because we know that we've already achieved the point to where we're unstoppable with artificial intelligence. Now, Politico has named Donald Trump the most important person in Europe. Isn't this crazy? The most important person in Europe, Donald J. Trump. Now, what does Trump have to say about the European Union, about Europe? Well, this is quite interesting because, number 1, If you go back to some of my earlier shows this year, January, February, March, April, I talk about the old guard. I talk about the various different royal bloodlines, the aristocracy that still rules it, the bankers, the London bankers, about the old family bloodlines that exist throughout all of Europe, how they are being dominated by, the European people are being dominated by an unelected bureaucracy of the European Union. Even though you had Brexit, the UK still falls under this and aligns with them on trade and policy. So what do we have here? We have the European Union as the primary enemy that Donald Trump has been fighting over the course of the last 12 months. The old guard. This is where all the financing is coming from. If you can tie directly in when you go to Venezuela, and I know people aren't talking about this. I know the name CIA is being brought up and Cuban intelligence, but I don't believe all the stuff Candace Owens says. But when she starts talking about secret societies in France that are trying to assassinate American podcasters and potentially assassinate Charlie Kirk, there's truth to this. About 20 to 80, 20% truth, 80% bullshit. But reason being is because they understand what Donald Trump is doing. They understand that Europe is going to be left in the dust because they've chosen their way of the commie-fascist New World Order. We discussed this many months ago in the sense that if we have a war with China, NATO is nothing. NATO is a piss in the wind when it comes to fighting China. The only ally that matters in that war is Russia. And here's the thing. The European Union knows that. Europe knows that. This is why they progressed the Ukraine war. This is why they're doing trade negotiations with China. China is the primary financier buying Russian oil that is keeping Russia afloat to fight this war. Hold on one second. I got to send a text. All right, let's play this clip.
He's really gotten right is the immigration because he allows nobody in his country. And Poland has done a very good job in that respect too. But most European nations, they're decaying. They're decaying.
You can imagine some leaders in Europe are a little freaked out by what your posture is, and European.
No, they should be freaked out by what they're doing to their countries. They're destroying their countries.
Well, European Council
and
President.
they're people I like. Look, they're people I like. I get along with them. You know that. But they can't let this happen. And it gets to a point where you can't really correct it. There'll be a point, and it's very close to that point.
And what will that mean?
It will mean that they're no longer going to be strong nations.
Does that mean they won't be allies
or
anymore?
they'll be, well, it depends, it depends. They'll change their ideology, obviously, because the people coming in have a totally different ideology. But it's going to make them much weaker. They'll be much weaker, and they'll be much different.
And what will that mean for our relationship
look at
with
your mayor
them?
of London. He's a disaster. He's a disaster. He's got a totally different ideology of what he's supposed to have. And he gets elected because so many people have come in. They vote for him now because, it's like, it's one of those things. But I hate what's happened to London, and I hate what's happened to Paris. I hate when I see it.
Sir, it's sometimes hard to tell when you say these things. Do you intend to send kind of a message of tough love to our allies to push them to make reforms? Or do you think that many of them are just weak and you don't really want to be allies with them?
I think they're weak, but I also think that they want to be so politically correct. I think they don't know what to do. Europe doesn't know what to do. They don't know what to do on trade either. I mean, I look at a lot of the trade, situation that's going on over there. It's a little bit dangerous, but Europe, they want to be politically correct, and it makes them weak. That's what makes them weak.
It sounds like you want to see some pretty massive changes.
Well, I think they.
Okay, so number one, when he's saying that they look weak, we have to understand what unraveled. See, we had the 16-year plan with Hillary Clinton. There was a plan by the globalists in place to bring the whole system down to the Great Reset. 8 years of Barack Obama, 8 years of Hillary Clinton, Bada bing, bada boom. It was done. Here's the thing. Donald Trump threw a fork in the spokes in 2016. Europe kept going. Europe didn't stop. There was no Donald Trump in Europe halting the illegal immigration, the inflow of migrants into these cities, turning massive cities, London and Paris, like Trump mentioned, into absolute migrant shitholes, into violent third world countries. I want you to understand this, is that if you begin to look at what happened to Europe, is that was supposed to happen here, but be much, much worse. That would have happened in the first 2 years of Hillary Clinton with an armed conflict against Russia, with a viral outbreak that probably would have killed a lot more people. We would have been well in the midst of the Great Reset by now. But the idea I want you to see is that Europe never put the brakes on. They kept progressing forth as if their agenda was going to move forward. And now what's that going to cost them? An alliance with the United States of America, potentially. I love this one. This is a good clip.
Are you going to? So how involved are you going to get? I mean, could we see you getting involved in European elections,
I want to run the United
example?
States. I don't want to run Europe. I'm involved in Europe very much.
Might you endorse
NATO
candidates?
calls me daddy. I mean, I have a lot to say about it. Look, I raised, the GDP from 2% to 5%. The 2% they weren't paying and the 5% they are paying. And they're paying it because when we send things over, NATO pays for it, and I assume they give it to Ukraine. But Europe is being destroyed.
So how involved?
NATO calls him daddy. And NATO might be out the door here in a few months. Trump said, if Europe doesn't get their shit together, we're 2027. This is what the Pentagon put out. This is what the Trump administration has put out. 2027, NATO, you better learn to defend yourself, because by 2027, it's done. It's over. And literally, that is 1 year. This is January 1st, 2027. That's 1 year. 2026 is the year that they have to get their shit figured out, or they're leaving NATO. Shout out to SQ Quinn, $10 Rumble Ramp, 2 snowballs for trip funds. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sonia. And Ron 4T, another snowball. Tina Peters' case is complicated because it's a state case. I'm a sister, not a brother. Rhonda. Oh, thank you, Rhonda. Appreciate you, sister. $5 Rumble Ramp. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Andy Pearson, $5. Snowballs are back. Rumble Ramp. Appreciate you, Andy. All of you guys out there. Thank you so much. And Trump went on to talk about Zelensky. What did he have to say about Zelensky?
Election, do you think? Is it time for Ukraine to hold an election, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. It's been a long time. It hasn't been doing particularly well. Yeah, I think it's time. I think it's an important time to hold an election. They're using war not to hold an election, but I would think the Ukrainian people would, should have that choice, and maybe Zelensky would win. I don't know who would win, but they haven't had an election in a long time. They talk about a democracy, but it gets to a point where it's not a democracy anymore.
Is it time for you?
Now, I find this interesting because Zelensky actually came out today and said, yeah, we're ready to have elections. Yeah, we'll have an election. And I made a little joke commenting on that. Yep, immediately after they install Smartmatic voting machines, right? Because that's how things are done in that area of the world. Europe continuing to decline. I mean, whether it's the fight towards people on free speech and rights and civil rights and freedoms, and prosecuting people for showing pictures of themselves holding a gun in the United States or saying something on social media. Now the European Central Bank is preparing for the potential issuance of the digital euro. The ECB plans to prepare for the potential issuance of the digital euro by 2029, assuming the European co-legislation adopt the necessary regulations by 2026. Preparatory steps, including pilot exercises and initial transactions, will begin as early as mid-2027. Why is this interesting? Because this is a central bank digital currency. This is a programmable currency. If you go back to COVID, and you remember, the European Union issued COVID passports inside that COVID passport, when you look at the digital profile and you can look at the programming, the extending programming beyond the COVID passport, there was financial, social information. So this is a social credit score that they were developing. And it also had the aspect of money in there, links to bank accounts, how to track that monetary transaction is through CBDC's digital transactions. So this is a social credit score system implementation being done right now in the European Union. Which brings me to the idea. You know, I was listening to somebody talk about this today, and they were spot on. They say, you know, when Americans talk about revolution, you know, it's a little bit different for them than it is for Europe. In America, you had the Revolutionary War, which you guys won. And so when you talk about revolution, you always come from a point of confidence. But in Europe, it's not so much. When you start talking about the various different revolutions, French Revolution, so forth, they didn't turn out too well for the people. When the destabilization occurred, from that destabilization of winning the revolution, implementations of tyrannic powers came in. But I do believe that we are going to have some type of cultural, social revolution rise up in Europe over the course of the next 12 months. Mark my words, 12 months, you're going to see protests, riots in the street within Europe of people rising up against their government. Look at Ireland specifically. Ireland has already formed secret groups and forming secret militias. Happening right now. All right. You got to preface this next part because it's kind of off topic, but once you go to the next part, it makes sense. I've talked about this extensively. It's not 18 trillion. It's actually 21 to 23 trillion right now. But listen to this.
We'll get to Brian Glenn as soon as we get him up on Traveling with the President today. This economic speech, the president has made a decision to President Trump is saying, hey, I've heard a lot of people talk and, you know, I'm not paying enough attention to domestic. I'm going to go on the road and sell this myself. President Trump, I think, feels that he's the best salesman for his economic program. A big part of the sales pitch today is to focus on what's happened on the big, beautiful bill, particularly on the investment side, the capital investment to bring back manufacturing jobs. Obviously, Pennsylvania in the Scranton area being around a manufacturing hub, this is very, very important. The write-off President Trump has given people, the depreciation President Trump has given people. The other is tariff and trade. They're trying to blame inflation on tariffs. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Tariffs are generating, I think, quite frankly, very surprising returns to Treasury. Scott Besson will tell you that. But that's not the purpose of the tariffs. The tariffs are a forcing function to drive manufacturing back here to the United States from international companies and other countries. You have to, if you don't bring your manufacturing back to the United States, you'll pay a tariff. You'll pay a tolling fee to get access to the most lucrative consumer market in the world. It's just pretty straightforward. Those are two massive bets. For 50 or 60 years, we've allowed trade and manufacturing, or really manufacturing, to atrophy, and therefore we've had these massive trade deficits. And people on Wall Street and the elites just laughed at Lou Dobbs and others, Peter Navarro, myself and others, to talk about trade deficits and how big. I think the trade deficit is something like $24 trillion right now. And how they laugh at, oh, that's just an accounting convention. It's not a accounting convention. That all has to be financed. If you have negative trade balances, somehow you got to finance the purchases from the American people. So that's basically your resources going out and stuff coming in. You've got to balance that. It's very logical. It's fought all the time by Wall Street. Wall Street hates to talk about it. President Trump is the first to really talk about it. And this time in his second term, he had the opportunity to do something about it. Now he's getting a full-on volley from the haters every day, the economists, the business types that hate fair trade and want to go back to the system that we were just ripped off all the time. President Trump in the National Security Memorandum they just put on Friday talked about it. It's the first time really, as we've said before, You focus on your trade and deficits along with your national security. In NATO, we pay essentially, we underwrite their security, and on all the trade deals over there, we were upside down, particularly as they negotiate a lot just on the whole for the EU. We were upside down with different nations. And
I'm fucking muted. I'm sorry. I was muted. I had coughed. Okay. I know. I'm back. Sorry. Okay. Really, really important what he was just talking about there. The national security strategy. When you start to go into the national security strategy, what this is saying is that, hey, the United States, our whole focus is going to be on the Western Hemisphere. We're no longer focused on empire building around the world, Middle East. We're not fighting your wars. We're not going to fund your militaries. This is the one key point. By 2027, NATO, you better figure it out. You better make peace with Russia because you pissed them off. But we're no longer going to do that. We're only going to focus on the Western Hemisphere. Why? Because that is a strategy that drives a multipolar world. And this is what Trump's doing. He's showing Russia and China. We made a deal in Rome in 2018. I don't know if people know about this, but the world was basically, a deal came about in 2018 in Rome between people in the Trump administration, Xi and Putin. And they said, we're going to form a multipolar world. Here's the plan. This is how we're going to do it. This is what we're going to do. And this is what they're forcing the European Union, Europe into right now. And Europe does not like it. That's why they push back against the tariffs. With $18 trillion of investment, $18 to $23 trillion of investment capital coming into the United States of America over the next 10 years, you understand that this not only adds the global GDP probably in the hundreds of trillions of dollars, but actually you're going to see massive GDP growth year after year for the United States of America in the tune of 2 to 3% growth per year. But potentially even higher, 3 to 5% GDP growth year after year. That's massive. What that's going to bring it back is manufacturing and processing, much like what Bannon was talking about. So how does Europe play against this? European Union officials are considering a nuclear option of dumping U.S. treasuries if Trump strikes a Ukraine deal without consulting America's allies. Well, Trump has already put his deal out there. Russia's already agreed to it. Ukraine is the only one that hasn't. Zelensky hadn't even read the deal. But now Zelensky is listening to Trump because the financing is being shut down. The only thing that is keeping this war going is, number one, the European military-industrial complex and the American military-industrial complex have a sweet deal going on. They're going to keep it going on. You got to remember, Donald Trump went out there and he negotiated with Europe that, hey, we're not going to provide any more aid to Ukraine. But what can happen is we will send you money through trade negotiations, and you can go ahead and give that to Ukraine if you want, but you have to buy American weaponry. You have to buy from American military-industrial complex, and that's what's been happening. It's up to the tune of $1 billion per month. So what we're going to see here, my thoughts in Ukraine is this. Putin has been given the green light. Trump has kind of pulled away from the negotiation table. He said, there's a deal out there. Zelensky, take the deal. It's a good deal. Europe's like, hey, we weren't involved in that deal. Trump's like, I don't care. You're not even a player in the game. You're irrelevant. You have succumbed to a dangerous radical ideology. I don't even recognize you. You're not even powerful enough to be an ally against the enemies that we face in this world. You're probably behind some of the things that are occurring in this world against us. So Europe, shut the fuck up. I don't care about you. Then he's going to Ukraine. He's going to Zelensky. You better do this because I greenlit Russia. And if you don't sign now, Russia is going to take all the land all the way to Odessa to the river. We already know this because At the end, when Russia goes in there and they seize that land all the way to Odessa, the Donbass will be split between the United States and Russia in the context of rare earth minerals. It'll be one of the first deals that comes out after sanctions are lifted off of Russia, after the war ends, and Trump and Putin will come to a mineral rights deal in the Donbass, and Ukraine will be pushed out of it. In the current deal, Ukraine gives up land and territory, but they keep the mineral rights perspective. So it's split 1/3 of the way between the U.S., Ukraine, and Russia. That's huge. Zelensky's not going to take it because he has Macron, he has Keimer, he has Merz, all in his ear telling him, no, keep this going, keep this going. We need to keep this going. And why? Because there's an aspect of China that plays into this. China wants to weaken their Western alliance. They want to weaken the United States of America and Russia because that gives them the potential to rise up as a hyperpower. So what do? Is they go in and they finance Europe. They finance Russia by buying Russian oil. This finances the war. They keep the European hawks progressing the war in Ukraine because that's the only way they can substantiate to keep their economy going is with Chinese business deals coming in. They're now aligning with China more so than they are aligning with the United States economically and even politically. And so we're seeing a complete realignment of the global infrastructure. But see, here's the key. Is that the old guard world infrastructure, the old new world order is falling apart. It's no longer relevant. The idea of central banks is going away. There is no need for central banks when you have a world where blockchain technology exists. And I know people are still telling me that the audio is good now. I know some people are probably a little late in the chat, so. But sorry about that. I had a cough, and so I muted myself. Oh, yeah, gotta love it, Josh. Yeah, gotta love it. Had a cough. I had to mute myself real quick. So this is a not a segue. We're still in here with the European Union. All right, let's go back into this. So they're going to consider the nuclear option of dropping U.S. treasuries. It's not going to matter. Someone is going to buy it out. The U.S. has purchased this is great. This is great. But you got to understand why the European Union is doing this and what Trump is doing. Remember what I told you. Trump is annihilating the Belt and Road, the Silk Road, Belt and Road initiative from China. He's went through Africa. He's went through the Middle East. Now he's in Latin and South America. And he's dismantling the Belt and Roads initiative, specifically in the Western Hemisphere. This is one of the keystones for China's success over the next 10 to 20 years, and Donald Trump's completely eliminated. Now he's doing the same thing to the European Union. I also want you to look at this, that this is a resource allocation war. Why did Donald Trump talk about Greenland and going in there? Because of resources. Why did he want Canada to be the 51st state? Because of resources in the northern part of Canada. Why is he negotiating peace deals? Because he's getting resource deals out of it. The U.S. has purchased the entire production of rare earth mines in Brazil. This is a BRICS nation until 2030, covering what was already agreed with the EU Commissioner of the Industry. Last month, I was supposed to go to Brazil to discuss a rare earth mine. 3 days before, we were told that the Americans had already come, put money on the table, and bought all production until 2030. In other words, the United States is going out there and they're undercutting Europe and China on rare earth deals around the world. That's huge. This is why I say why Trump is most likely going out there and giving AI chips from NVIDIA to China or offering them, because he knows that we have enough of the resources allocated, enough of the energy allocated, that there's no way China can catch us unless they learn to refine helium-3 to historic levels and generate power from that, because they're already mining it off the moon. And here you go, Representative Massey. And I said some of these guys are sleeper cells. Like, you got this KFABI war that goes on between Trump and these people, but then you get Massey that jumps in and does something that makes a lot of sense. Representative Thomas Massey has introduced H.R. 6508, the Not a Trusted Organization Act, requiring the president to give notice of withdrawal from NATO within 30 days of enactment and prohibiting any U.S. funds from going to the alliance. NATO is a Cold War relic. The United States should withdraw from NATO and use that money to defend our country, not socialist countries. The bill's findings lay out the case. The Warsaw Pact and Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. Secretary of State James Baker assured Gorbachev that NATO would not expand eastward. NATO expanded anyway and now shares a 1,500-mile border with Russia. More than a decade after the 2014 Wales summit, nearly one-third of NATO members still failed to meet the 2% GDP defense spending pledge. The U.S. continues to shoulder the burden of the largest financial end of military contributions. The bill argues that European NATO members' combined military and economic capacity already exceeds Russia's, making U.S. involvement unnecessary. As long as the U.S. subsidizes European security, allies have no incentive to defend themselves. The conclusion, membership of the United States in NATO is inconsistent with the national security interests of the United States of America, as well as the national security strategy outlined by the Trump administration. Huge, because I think that this bill could actually get momentum and get passed. And we're not going to have to wait till 2027. Or they'll put a deadline date of 2027 onto it. All right, now we're at the segue point. And they don't have shit in here. Oh, these guys are cool. I like them. And if you guys are using these products, make sure you go visit them. If you're on Rumble, this is where this will be, Emerald Med. So I want to share with you a quick story about a farming family supporting this channel. 8 years ago, they had a brother return from Afghanistan with significant injuries. They watched as he became a shell of his former self and struggled a lot with health. We can't share his exact story because of, obviously, FDA restrictions, but friends kept suggesting CBD, and they tried dozens of CBD products, but nothing helped. Out of frustration, they began to create their own. They started making it to help their friends, family, have CBD that they knew was clean and powerful as possible. Then doctors started asking to carry it, and it took off. Now they speak at medical conventions and help others across the United States. While most companies have 1 to 10 compounds in CBD oil, their oil has up to 50. They have 8 things that make them different. They make balms, gummies, pet products, etc. They're called Emerald Med. You should check out these guys out. If you get their CBD and don't notice a big difference, they'll actually provide a refund. If you want to support a company that supports our channel and free speech with marketing dollars, and you need a source for CBD that's real, they're running a Black Friday deal, which I believe is still going on. You can click the link below and try Emerald Med 40% off today. Get extreme muscle and joint relief, support quality sleep, or even daytime calm. They're worth a try at least once. Just click the link below and use that code 40% off for up to 2 items today. And that's Emerald Med over there, guys. And, they reached out to me. They're awesome. And I appreciate all you guys' the support you gave to them. With the latest bill that came out, I think it was a spending bill, there was actually a retraction from the farm bill back in 2018 to where Congress has basically passed a law that makes a lot of these products unavailable. And I believe it's from the centralization of corporations that are coming in, knowing that Trump is going to deschedule marijuana from a Schedule 1, pull it off the schedule, and federally legalize it, that this is preparatory framework for the big pharma and corporations to come in and scoop up this market. So one thing that we can do is, I know that they're probably going to be running some campaigns, so visit them and see how you can help support them to get this legislation overturned and to safe and secure small business farming for hemp products. And going into the aspect of drugs here, more Americans die from drug overdoses in the last 7 years than U.S. military casualties in World War I, World War II, and Vietnam combined. Make no mistake, drug traffickers are bringing weapons in our communities, and they detonate every day. That's from Tom Cotton, and I respect him for saying that because he is spot on right. I'm going to play a short video, and I know that the music's probably going to get me flagged on a lot of channels, but the video is a reminder of why eliminating narco terrorists around the world, why we are eliminating narco terrorists around the world with kinetic force. And I hope you understand the reality of this. If you're wondering why we're taking out these drug boats, just watch this video.
Happening here, what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong.
He's loving it. Could you?
I come from a small town, 1,200 people. I had 89 people in my graduating class. I've lost well over a dozen friends to heroin and fentanyl over the course of the last decade. I know that everybody out there has been affected in some way, shape, or form by these drugs. We need to stop calling them drugs. Fentanyl is not a drug. It is a bioweapon that is being utilized on the American people as we speak, that is being smuggled and brought into this country by cartels and gangs, that is being sponsored by nation states, whether it's Cuba, whether it's Venezuela, whether it's Mexico, or whether it's China, or whether it's India. It doesn't matter. We need to eradicate that. We need to send the loudest message possible to those that are bringing those narcotics from one country into ours or trafficking them up through our border. And that message is kinetic strikes from MQ-9 Reaper drones. It is special operations tier 1 going in there and raiding their camps and decimating their infrastructure. A message needs to be sent, and I support Donald Trump and everything that he's doing. And I know that the real reason that we're in Venezuela is not necessarily drugs and narcotics. That's one small piece of a larger puzzle. But in understanding that, that's one piece of a larger puzzle, that this is bio-warfare waged against the American people. And I want you to think about this for a second. Truly, I want you to think about this for a second. I've laid this scenario out multiple times, and I don't think many people in the government or DHS or planning boards and commissions or even people like Flynn have talked about this, because I've been saying the color revolution has been happening for 5 fucking years. I've been talking about it since November 2020. I started talking about what I call the firestorm event, which is nothing more than a color revolution that occurs globally. I've laid out the scenarios. We watch as illegal immigrants flooded our freaking border into our states, into our cities. We watched as Republican governors shipped and transported them into sanctuary cities. And I said, you watch out, because this is directly associated with fentanyl. Massive amounts of fentanyl and heroin are coming over that border. And I said, what happens when you have a terrorist cell in Minneapolis, New York City, in LA, San Francisco? And they're bringing in more fentanyl that could kill this population 1,000 times over. And I said, what happens when the coordination between these sleeper terrorist cells take over critical infrastructure? 4 o'clock in the morning, they go in and they take over the water supply. They set the release after dumping pounds and pounds of fentanyl into the water. They set the release and they send it out to every home in that city. That could happen. That's what I think this was all about. I think that that's one of the methods they were going to utilize to eliminate the majority of the American population. It's very, very serious. All right. Lara Logan shared an interview that she did with Dr. Schindler. So Dr. Timothy Schindler, Colonel, United States Marine Corps, retired, federal whistleblower, says it's real, centralized, and run through the Council of Inspector Generals of Integrity and Efficiency, also known as SIGER. This is what we're talking about when we talk about the deep state. I'm going to bring this clip up because this transitions us into our next point.
State, in a sense, this is the command and control of a major part of the deep state.
No, it is the command and control of the deep state. Congress said
We want comprehensive oversight on both operations in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Okay.
And we want a plan for oversight. And we're going to delegate this directly to the chair of the SIGI.
I see.
And
So you
he
really
will-
worked for the chair of the SIGI.
Well, this is the interesting piece. He, in turn, delegates it down to the IG at the DOD.
Yeah.
And I'm working for him.
Yeah. So you're working directly for the Inspector General at DOD.
But for the SIGI, actually.
But in effect,
You bet.
you really were working for the SIGI.
You bet.
And who at the SIGI?
Michael E. Horowitz.
Wow. Come on. Horowitz?
Yes.
One of the worst.
Yes.
One of the absolute worst. Horowitz of Russia collusion fame,
Yes.
who now is not out of the government, who now is at the Federal Reserve.
Right.
In waiting, ready to come back.
Right. Still probably providing emeritus status on the SIGI.
What was his position officially at the SIGI?
DOJ. He was the DOJ IG.
He was the Inspector General at DOJ.
And he replaced Glenn Fine, who went to DOD.
Wow, it's a really nice, tight,
And
rotating
his
circle
deputy,
of the same people.
And his deputy then went on to become the DOD IG. And his deputy spent 30 years over in the U.S. Attorney's Office, District of Columbia.
They really have it all sewn up, don't they?
The assistant FBI director for integrity and ethics worked for Glenn Fine and runs the FBI. Yes, think of the SIGI as an integrated command and control center.
So the buck stops with them.
Yes.
Because every complaint that is made
Yes.
in any agency whatsoever
Yes.
goes to the Inspector General, and from those IGs report to the SIGI,
Yes.
and it dies.
And are investigated by the SIGI.
And are investigated by the SIGI, and it all dies.
Yes.
That's where whistleblower complaints actually go to die.
If it's against the members of the SIGI.
Unless it's in their
Right.
interest to prosecute it.
Yes. Politically, yes.
So when people talk about the deep state, in a sense, this is the command and control of a major part of the deep state.
No, it is the command and control of the deep state. It's in every...
And General Michael Flynn came out, reposted this, and said, Deep State, Command and Control, SIGI. Time to break it up, Donald Trump. And so it'd be interesting to see what role General Michael Flynn is going to come in under the Trump administration. Now, the SIGI is an independent entity within the U.S. executive branch. It was established in 2008 by Inspector General Reform Act of 2008, which merged two prior councils, the PCIE, the ECIE. Its purpose is to address issues such as integrity, economy, and effectiveness that cross over into multiple government agencies to ensure a professional, well-trained Inspector General community. So I want another key point here. It's an independent entity in the executive branch, okay? Now, if you remember the Supreme Court case that we're talking about, the fourth branch of government, if Donald Trump wins this argument, he will be able to completely reform the SIGI. That's huge. So Patrick Byrne today's roll call. I'm seeing if I got a text message back. Today's roll early, roll often news. General Venezuela #2 confirmed state sponsor of narcoterrorism, Smartmatic rigs elections in USA and others. TDA reports to Jorge and Delcy Rodriguez. Iran, IRG plus Hezbollah plus China equals puppeteers of V, English and Espanol 3 each. So he posted another letter from another Venezuelan general that is blowing the whistle on all of this. That's two of them. He did a piece on Alex Jones. What did we learn from this piece on Alex Jones? He made 4 explosive assertions. I will actually bring him up to let him say this, right?
But Rick Grinnell, I'm told from 2 independent sources, shagged a 14, 15-year-old boy, and the Russians have the videos. So he's owned. John Ratcliffe, I'm also told, on good authority, very good authority within the intelligence community, John Ratcliffe, who I've met twice and seemed like a nice enough man. I don't hate the guy, but he's got a similar problem. And it's not underage, it's not a boy. but on 2 occasions he was drawn into hotel rooms with young women, and it's on video. He's owned. John Ratcliffe's not really running the CIA. John Brennan is. The top 2 layers of the CIA are John Brennan's guy. This would explain some odd facts about John Ratcliffe, and this really sticks in my craw. John Ratcliffe was the DNI in the last days of Trump. He, by law, had to deliver on December 18th. That was the day he had to deliver his report on whether or not there was foreign involvement in the election. He didn't deliver. He waited until January 7th, the day after January 6th, when there's all that hubbubaloo, and then he delivers a report, and his report was the official report to the intelligence community that they didn't think there was foreign involvement or that China was involved, but he put a cover letter on that said, I officially dispute, I think China was involved. And he slipped this in on January 7th, where it barely made a blip because everything that was going on by January 7th, 2020. Why did he do that? He's owned. To see John Ratcliffe in January, I went to see him first in July of 2018, 17 months into Trump's term. I went over and turned over to John Ratcliffe because he was on the Nunes committee, and I met him a second time in late October and fed him everything he needed to know. He sat, he dawdled, he spun, he said, well, we can't. He shocked me by saying, well, we went to the CIA, but we can only confirm 25% of what you're telling me. I said, you're kidding me. I came to you as a whistleblower. You went over to the CIA, asked about me, are you out of your mind? Well, that's guy. You know why he's acting that way? Because he got twice lured into DC hotel rooms, 2 different girls, not at the same time, shagged them, and it's on video. So he's a puppet of John Brennan. Rick Grinnell is a puppet of Russia, Brennan, somebody. That's why the CIA is fighting teeth, toes, and fingernails to fight turning Venezuela over to the woman who just won the Nobel Prize, who has 80 to 90% support. They don't want to turn it over. They want to turn it over to Delcy Rodriguez. That's why, because they're barely Americans. They're being blackmailed. John Ratcliffe and Rick Grinnell are being blackmailed. And, so let's get that on. Let's get that on. And sorry, fellas, last thing I want to do was come out and do this. But CIA is making me mad. So I'm letting you know, a part of the reason I know this is I am CIA. I was CIA. John Ratcliffe is being blackmailed for 2 liaisons in DC hotel rooms, and Rick Grinnell shagged him.
Okay. Patrick Byrne goes on to say that he is CIA. Todd Blanche is suppressing evidence. John Ratcliffe is compromised, and Rick Grinnell is compromised. But he states, for the record, he's a CIA operative, and that he was tasked by his handlers to go out there and help run the Russia hoax. Now, that's a big, bold claim. Now, if you remember the interview that Alpha Warrior and myself did with Patrick Byrne right after the 2024 election, Patrick Byrne said, he told his whole story. He said, he goes, I was a confidential informant to the FBI, and I also was within intelligence, and I had a handler, but I'm not going to tell you who that was. Well, we find out that was John Brennan. That's what he just said. He goes out there and talks about why he's turning, why he shows the documentation. Now, does this mean he can be trusted? Well, firstly, the person that he's trying to get in to Venezuela, Machado, is nothing more than a CIA asset, MI6 asset, Chevron, and NGOs. I mean, she was funded originally by the National Endowment for Democracy, which is just a CIA front. Can she be trusted? She's probably the most viable candidate that's going to be supported with the United States of America. But Delcy Rodriguez, absolutely not. That's like putting a more powerful figure of the cartel in the place of Maduro. So you have Ratcliffe and Grinnell that are pushing for Delcy Rodriguez to get in there, and other people are pushing for Machado because she's easier to control. At least that's the perspective I have. So really interesting right there with Patrick Byrne. General Flynn put out a 35-minute interview. We're going to actually be going over this tonight on DEFCON 0, so make sure you pay attention to that. I'm not going to go too much into that. I already talked about it. New Bay of Pigs, Gulf of Tonkin, false flags, potentially inbound. Venezuelan opposition leaders, Maria Corina Machado, who I was just talking about, has referenced plans for the first 100 hours and 100 days of transition after Nicolas Maduro is removed from power. And I said it probably went something like this: CIA, Chevron, NGOs. That's my thoughts. Baker 468 $10 Rumble Rant. Thanks for playing that video. It hits home. Absolutely, brother. Thank you. I can't see gender on here, so I appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry if I say brother or sister. And new rumors are circulating that Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado has been evacuated from Venezuela with help of the United States. So that'll be interesting to see that. Now, a few weeks ago, Alpha Warrior, myself on DEFCON 0 said that we had good intel that Chinese military assets are heading towards the Caribbean. We said it, if you remember. Now, this young Jamaican lady, she has a lot to say about this. Let's listen to what she says.
Somebody lying. No, somebody lying. Somebody lying. Somebody lying on mentiroso. Somebody lying. Today is December 8th, 2025. It's 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time. Why is there a Chinese ship in Jamaica? I'm not talking about no Chinese ship. I'm not talking about no random ship. I mean a big vessel ship. I mean a medicine ship. A medicine ship. China spent over a week getting to Jamaica. Not Japan. I'm sorry. Arigato. Wagwan Bridger, what you said? China spent over a week getting to Jamaica, and their claim was because we had to help patients after the storm and the earthquake that took place. No, wait a damn minute. Woman gave me that dianhua. Shama?
So, what is she saying? We have Chinese military assets in Jamaica. Here you go, right here. Yes, it's a medical ship. I know. Chinese medical ship docks in Port Royal. No, it's a Chinese resupply ship, medical ship, but also a spy ship. And there's a reason why it's there. I think that potentially this could be a method to refuel a submarine that is potentially in the waters of the Caribbean. That's just my thoughts, conspiracy minded. But I thought it was interesting. I wanted to share that with you. We're coming up to the end here. I got a little bit more to go into. We got some more news to still cover here for a second. For anybody wondering about Emerald Med, you have to go to the Rumble channel. You have to go to the Red Pill Project Rumble channel. You have to go to the show. And on this show, right underneath the show, you're going to see. Actually, let me do this for you. So I had someone actually email me about this. And so this is the show right now on Rumble. And if you go into Rumble right here, it's going to say podcast, click on the link below, 40% off Emerald Med. It's right there. And so that's the only way to get that link is to go to the Rumble channel to get that link. So if you guys want to support them, head on over to that Rumble channel. Make sure you subscribe over there. Grab that link. So $21 billion in Obamacare subsidies cannot be traced to actual people. $21 billion. Governor Accountability Office decided to see if anybody's actually watching the store. So they made 20 completely fictitious applicants. No real people, no documentation, just testing the system would notice. 18 of them are still actively covered. September 2025, monthly payout over $10,000. GAO is just monitoring them because apparently nobody at HHS has. No social security number? Fine. No proof of citizenship? Whatever. No income documentation? Come on in. GAO literally wrote in their report, we did not provide documentation yet received coverage. They're not even hiding it. They got benefits with nothing. The system just said yes. Now check out real world damage. In 2023, 29,000 social security numbers somehow got used for multiple full year coverage plans. By 2024, that jumped to 68,000. Some ones are running the same number through the machine twice, 3 times, however many times it takes, and the alarms aren't going off. Then there's the $94 million that went to dead people in 2023, not accounts tied to people who died recently, and the paperwork hasn't caught up. Straight up deceased recipients, dead decades. So this is massive. $21 billion just floating out there with no clear connection to who's supposed to be getting it. Trump administration is definitely launching an investigation into this. They announced today it found massive Obamacare fraud, including 4.4 million improper enrollments and 1.6 million people who were enrolled in both Medicaid and Obamacare plan in 2024. Trump has vowed to gut this program. So I can't wait. I'm hoping that they gut the program fast and get us new health care reform. What I mean by reform is regulation and policy, not government-sponsored healthcare. It's not what we want. We want healthcare costs to come down. The only way to do that is through the free markets. Yep, and here's Trump actually commenting on health insurance companies.
Capacity of Repill have introduced a bill to create health savings accounts to replace the Obamacare subsidies. That's good. Do you support that bill?
Well, I like the concept. I don't want to give the insurance companies any money. They've been ripping off the public for years. Obamacare is a scam to make the insurance companies rich, and they have made, I mean, you look $1,400 to $1,700 increase, 100% increase over the last number of years. There's really few things that have gone up like insurance companies. They're getting numbers and money like nobody's ever seen before. Billions and billions of dollars is paid directly to insurance companies. We're not going to do that anymore. I believe Obamacare was set up to take care of insurance companies, not to take care of the American public.
Love it. He's spot on. He's absolutely right. Over $2.3 trillion since Obamacare's inception have flowed into insurance companies with nobody claiming it. It's just pure profit margin for them. And so this is why we need radical reform within all of this. Guys, Christmas is coming up. And if you want to get me a Christmas present, this is the one to get me. If you're on Rumble, only Rumble can see this. Free shipping plus 6 ribeyes. Chicago Steak Company, the top 2% of beef in America, USDA prime and premium Angus, hand cut by master butchers. This kind of marbling that hits a hot pan and fills the whole house with that smell. The buttery meat goodness, you know the one. Spend $229 on any holiday order and your gift arrives at your loved one's door with 6 free petite ribeyes plus free shipping. That's $240 in premium steak, absolutely free. Then there's the unboxing, a black and gold gift box worth unwrapping, packed with dry ice, smoke rolling out when they crack it open. Christmas morning energy. It's not just another sweater, it's dinner that becomes a memory. mychicagosteak.com/rumble. And use that code RUMBLE, RUMBLE, at checkout. All right. What else we got here? The FDA has launched an investigation into COVID vaccines-related deaths across all age groups. It's about fucking time. The U.S. government is now officially probing whether COVID-19 vaccines may be linked to deaths in people of various ages. This marks the most serious federal review of vaccine safety since mass rollouts began. After years of mandates and censorship, the question can no longer be ignored, and they are absolutely 100% investigating this. I'm curious to see where this will end up, if this is going to end up with a nothing burger protecting the pharma, or if this is going to end up with, yes, there was massive harm, and we're going to remove the safeguards and people can sue the shit out of Big Pharma. I hope that's where it ends up. We talked about SCOTUS. Justice Neil Gorsuch goes off on the rogue bureaucratic state at today's oral argument as the court seems poised to hand Donald Trump a victory. This is going to be so huge. I don't know. Most people out there are not understanding how huge this actually is with the fourth branch of government being heard right now by the Supreme Court. So if the Supreme Court aligns with Donald Trump on this, executive power is going to be handed back to President Trump. And he said something today. Trump says, I hear that the auto pen may have signed appointment of some of the Democrats on the federal board of governors. Now, he can only make that move if the Supreme Court case comes in his favor. Not only that, Condoleezza Jackson, a Supreme Court justice, well, guess what signed her commission? Same pen. Oh, generals that were promoted under Biden, same pen. You start to see the power of having that authority back in his hands. The SIGI that we just talked about, the inspector generals, now that comes back in his hand. So this alone, the Supreme Court case alone, will allow Donald Trump to begin eradicating the deep state infrastructure. Tell me how Ilhan Omar went from having around $65,000 at the end of her campaign when she ran for her first year in Congress, so over $30 million right now in 3 years. I think that that's going to get investigated. It might be the way that they actually get her out of this country. U.S. Appeals Court has just upheld that the Trump administration ban on transgender service members. There we go. Our military should be focused on strength, not catering to the mentally ill. And we have Pete Hegseth saying that, hey, if I don't want them, they need to get out. And they're getting out. I love it. This is exactly what we voted for. And to Mike, who's emailing me about the link, you have to go to Rumble. It is in Rumble on the top. It's grayed out. I showed it on the show. I hope that you can see it there because I don't control that link. And Exotic Tech already making its way out. So I posted this yesterday, and I stand behind this because this is one of the things that I said, that colleges and universities will be the mechanism to begin bringing out this exotic technology that's been held in Black projects for the longest time. Now, why is this important? Because we have the Genesis mission where 30,000 scientists are going to be given the most powerful AI on the planet to begin doing massive amounts of technology and scientific research. Listen to this. Virginia Tech unveils breakthrough chip that lets sound move matter. That's right. They created something straight out of science fiction, a chip that uses sound waves to move and shape objects as they had invisible hands. The new acoustic metamaterial chip can be bent, twist, and overlap sound waves to grab and control tiny particles with stunning precision. Traditional sound devices only create flat waves. This one can curve and sculpt them, allowing 3D control in liquids or solids with no physical contact. The potential is huge, clearing blood clots without surgery, directing medicine through the bloodstream, cooling microchips, or even building microscopic machines. By encoding sound energy like a programmable field, the chip turns acoustics into a new form of engineering power. Understand that this technology is not something humans are developing. This is something we're reverse engineering. That right there will lead to anti-gravity in itself. I assure you. And this was cool. I'm going to play this clip here for you. I don't know the legitimacy of this. I hope it's true, but this is the one I said where me and Alpha should go do a show on this live at Devil's Tower. But listen to this. This is kind of cool because this actually conforms to what we're seeing with the pyramids in Giza.
I shot LiDAR AI photon protein fiber beams at Devil's Tower, and you are not going to believe what is inside it. It changes the whole history of not only America, but the world. Devil's Tower is in Wyoming, and it's a structural edge that's mysterious because I'm an Eagle Scout, and if you look at the rock formation edge, I don't think it's solid, and a lot of people are like, it's solid all the way through. So I, with my friend Dr. Remy Demi, shot the world's best, this is it right here, photon protein fiber beam AI LiDAR technology directly at Devil's Tower, and this is the imagery it gave back. There are chambers inside the base of Devil's Tower with, you can see a passageway right there. Here's another angle of it, of another view, and it's just insane. It's blowing our minds. We don't know if this is a Native American chamber, if it's an alien chamber. So now we're trying to get access to that passageway. We know the door is amongst about right there, but we are trying to get permits so we can dig down and access the door and go into the chambers. I'll keep you updated. Follow me and I'll keep you updated on what we find. We hope to get the permits next week, and I'm just super excited.
This is crazy. And I hope that it's real. I hope that if that is really the case, I hope that it's freaking real. One thing I'm going to do is, I know some people are asking for this and they can't find it on the mobile app. And so if you are watching out there, I just put the Emerald Med link in the chat, and I'll also put the My Chicago Steaks link in the chat. And so you guys should have that out there. And I want to go ahead and preserve this for anybody. So I need to go back out here real quick, and I'm going to put it into the show description on Rumble as well. There's Chicago. And I wanted to go here. Just give me 1 second. Let me do this real quick. I had quite a few people actually message me saying, hey, there's no link on Rumble. It's actually not on Rumble. It's on Rumble, but it's only on the website. For some reason, it doesn't show up in the app. So for anybody out there in Emerald Med, so now in the description on my Rumble are the links. So there you go. If you just refresh your page, you should be able to find them there. Sorry about that confusion. What do we got here? Well, guys, we're in the final countdown. Shit is happening. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what occurs over the next few weeks. And I think that when I say the final countdown, I mean that the stage is set. The chess positions are being set up as we speak. And Trump is getting ready to make a major, major move. And I think that that's going to come about with the firing of Susie Wiles. I think that that's going to come about with people being fired like Rick Grinnell and John Ratcliffe. I think that that potentially even could come about with the Supreme Court decision. This Supreme Court decision completely transforms the Trump administration. He's going to be the first president in over 100 years that can actually utilize executive authority to reform our entire government and fire the deep state that is in place and put people in that that need to be there. So really interesting time. Just loving this. I hope that this happens as fast as humanly possible. I'm going to do one more before we go ahead. Nope, actually, now we got 10 minutes. It's not even worth it. But I'm going to go out there. I have to set something up real quick because I'm going to raid you guys over the DEF CON. So just keep that in mind. What do I mean by that? For Rumble, anybody on Rumble, they get rated over the DEF CON. And so I just got to get in to set that up. And I want to go back over here. I know I'm wasting your time. I hope I'm not wasting your time. And go here like this. Click that. Boom, like that. Okay, I'm going to confirm that here in a second. We're going to go ahead and get out. I got to head over to DEF CON, so I definitely got to go. I'm going to leave you with this amazing music. If you guys are interested in this music, please go help and support. The links will be scrolling below underneath. Much love, respect, God bless. I'll see you guys on DEF CON. Take care. Have a great night. See you next time.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hand on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our history was known, with pride in the rules that made us all a time when truth was clear, when the media served, not ruled by fear. There was a time when leaders stood fast, guarding the people, defending the past. Now corruption wears a crown, lies are fed to tear us down. But Q said watch, and Q said see, the silent war will set us free. From the front lines, soldiers stare, wondering if we're still there. Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a last prize. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, the veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free.
There was a time, the time is near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time. There was a time. Now is the time. Do it.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"